What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Scripted Kingdom. My name is Pharaoh, and as you see by the title, today we are going to be talking about Thunderbolts. Period. This movie has been very interesting. The reception has been very interesting. My thoughts are a little interesting, so I have a lot to say. Let's get into it. Period. Now, if you don't know what Thunderbolts is, I'm going to read you a little bit of a synopsis here. Ensnared in a death trap, an unconventional team of anti-heroes, Yelena Belova, Bucky Barnes, Red Guardian, Ghost, Taskmaster, and John Walker embarks on a dangerous mission that forces them to confront the darkest corners of their past. Now, synopsis sound real cute, right? Sounds cute, right? The director of this is Jake Schreier, who has also directed Girl Nothing. I know that's right. I know that's not nothing. He's directed things, but I don't know what this shit is. No shade. No Marvel movies, though. This is his first Marvel movie that he's directed. Very interesting. I can kind of tell that this isn't a director we've seen in Marvel before because it doesn't feel like any other MCU movie exactly in a directorial way. So I will give it that, period. Now, most of this, all of this cast I've already seen before because I've seen them on other Marvel movies or whatever. Of course, Florence Pugh is Black. Hold on. I just realized that I don't know these people outside of the MCU at all. Or like maybe I do, but I haven't really thought about it. But anyways, Florence Pugh is Yelena Belova. This is the same lady from Midsommar, which I also haven't seen. So, okay, wait, hold on. Oh, Florence Pugh is a star. And I feel like I didn't know that. So I'm glad I really looked into it because none of her movies have I like really gotten into, but Dune Part 2 I have recently seen. And I'm like, that is her, isn't her? She's like the little princess woman. Okay, this is a star. Shout out to Florence Pugh. But of course, as Yelena Belova, right? We also have Louis Pullman, who is playing Bob. He's on some other shit I've never seen. No shade, but shout out to Louis. We have Geraldine Viswanathan, who love her. She was a star in this movie. Don't know her from shit else. We have Wyatt Russell, who of course is Walker. Oh, John Walker. And then we have David Harbour, who is playing Red Guardian. He is also in Stranger Things. He's the daddy. I did know that, I believe. He's the daddy in Stranger Things. He was in Brokeback Mountain? Girl, he's been in some shit. So put some respect on his name. We have Olga. Olga played Taskmaster. And Hannah John Kamen played Ava Starr. And then, of course, Sebastian Stan plays Bucky Barnes. Period. So we have our cast of heroes, and we're getting into the reviews. Now, this movie has had some very, very, very positive reviews, particularly like in essence of an MCU film for sure, but it's just had a lot of positive reviews. It started off and it was fresh on Rotten Tomatoes for a good moment. It might still be fresh. Let's see. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has an 88%. And on IMDb, it has a 7.7 out of 10 stars. On Letterboxd, it's at 3.8 out of 5 stars. So all of it is like a high, like a B-ish for everyone, like a high B for every area it's in, really. Kind of a C to B, whatever. It's up there, right? Not too much up there. It kind of went down. The first couple of days, it was like 90% and 9 out of 10, and everybody loves it. It has 5 stars. And then it kind of like settled down to this area where it's at right now with the 3.8 out of 5 and the 7.7. It's kind of settled to a more, I feel, realistic area. No shade. It was definitely getting hyped. I was like, hold the fuck on. This shit better eat. And the shit's not this shit. I'll get into the shit. No shade. Now, my viewing experience for this movie, I went on the premiere night to was it the premiere night? It was the premiere night at like a 9:00 showing. We were gonna go at like 6:10 or something like that. It was a packed theater. We was ready to go, but we had to like extend it later because we was late. Every time I'm going with other bitches, we late. God damn. So we was a little late. I was like, okay, boom, let's extend it, yada, yada, yada. We ended up going to the 9:00 show, and it was still a lot of people there, but, you know, not as many as the other experience. I kind of wanted like a full like a full, this is a Marvel experience on a premiere, everyone's here, yada yada yada. But it was still cute. It was still people there. I was there. It was still a crowded theater. It just wasn't like packed full to the max. And I kind of was like, I kind of want to pack full to the max. But honestly, I don't think this movie necessarily entailed that. I feel like, Avengers Doomsday or the Avengers movies will probably make more sense for that to be necessary, because this movie was like, okay, no shade. Now, let me just slide into my non-spoiler review, right? Let me just tell y'all my thoughts without spoiling the movie, right? Now, is it giving what the girls were saying it was giving initially? No. In my opinion, no. It is not giving this 10-star, bitch, this is the best movie since Avengers Endgame. People were saying this is the best MCU movie since Avengers Endgame. Please calm down. Please calm down. Please calm down. Please, please, please. I'm begging you. I'm begging you to please calm down. I disagree wholeheartedly. The movie is cute to me. The movie is cute. There are cute elements here. Some elements I don't care for at all. Some elements I felt were like repetitive, or we've seen it before 3,000 million times, no shade. So for me, I was not gagging. There was only maybe one thing about this movie that stuck out and made it different than any other movie I've ever seen. I could have created this movie out of other movies. And even the one element that stuck out, it's like I could have created that movie from another movie as well. Like everything that it talked about and it discussed was so ununique to me. Like I have seen it all before, truly. All of it. Every single thing. And I feel like what I want is something different from every movie I'm watching. Something different. And in my opinion, all of the new era MCU movies have been giving me that. After Shang-Chi and Black Panther Wakanda Forever and Eternals and like so many, even Black Widow, which I'm not that big of a fan of. I felt like all of those movies gave me such a different perspective or a different viewpoint or a different something in all of those movies. And I felt like for this movie, I did not really get that. I think within the MCU, there are things that it involved that aren't necessarily always there within the MCU, but I'm talking about in general, and I'll kind of get into that discussion a little bit later on, the whole within the MCU and as a movie in general. And I'm talking about as a movie in general, it doesn't give me anything new. I've seen this all. And I think that's what made me like, this is mid as fuck. Like I was watching it and I was so ungagging. Like I was not gagging at all, because even the things it was doing that are commonly seen, they could have been done interestingly or uniquely. And I didn't even feel like those things were being done uniquely or interesting. Like the whole first part of the movie, I'm like, okay. Like I was just not gagging, and I feel a little bad because I wanted to gag a little. Like I wanted to gag. I wanted to gag because everybody else was gagging. Everybody else was so excited. But I feel like I quickly realized where the excitement was coming from, and I don't believe it was necessarily the quality of the movie compared to the new era. I think it might be the more direction of the characters, the type of characters, the archetype of characters that are being shown versus the archetype of characters that have been shown in other new-ish MCU movies, right? So we'll get into that a little bit later because I don't want to spoil too much. Now, would I recommend this to an MCU fan? Sure. If you're someone who preferred the phase 1 of MCU, I think you will love this movie. I think a lot of people who do love this movie and are gagging so much are people who really, really enjoyed the first couple of phases of the MCU, and they feel like this is more comparable to that, which I can agree that this is more comparable to that. And I feel like if you preferred those over the new era MCU movies, then you will love this movie. And I feel like it's a lot that you can relate to, especially with the old era of movies. And it does still have like an element of freshness to it, so it kind of mixes the two, but it is very old school, I feel like, especially with the storytelling, with the pacing. So I definitely think if you are an MCU fan, you will just like it in general because it has MCU characters. I enjoyed it just because of that fact. And if you enjoyed the old phase 1, especially if you enjoyed phase 1 in them more than you enjoyed the new phase, then you will definitely love this movie. So I think a lot of people can enjoy it, and that's probably why the ratings are high. It's just for me personally, I was like, okay, that's not enough for me. I need it to still be great as an individual movie on its own, not just in comparison to other MCU movies. And that's no shade. Like, so for me, it was good. And I wouldn't necessarily say don't watch it. I think everyone can watch it. I don't think you'll enjoy this if you are okay with what's happening in the new era MCU. The fact that there's so much more going on, there's celestials and there's cracks in the timeline and there's a multiverse, all of that. If you like that and you like how intense things are getting and how fast things are getting, this is going to take a big step back from that. And I don't know if you'll necessarily feel like it's worth your while because it's not doing anything unique at all. And it kind of isn't flowing into that storyline as much as it's flowing more so into the general MCU world of where are we going politically, which I did appreciate about this movie. I will say that's something I should say in the pros. But yes, it's just, it depends. It depends. I still would recommend every MCU fan to go watch this. I feel like every MCU fan should watch everything that's released because it's kind of necessary. But I don't know. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. Very mid, a little bit above average. Like, I feel like I usually enjoy all MCU movies a little bit more than, a normal, regular, run-of-the-mill superhero movie or a regular movie. So I still enjoyed this, but not for the reasons that are spectacular. No shade, which is why it's not more than a 3. And them ratings, I just felt like were overkill. Bitches were giving it 5 stars and shit. Hold on. And saying it's not better than every MCU movie ever since Endgame. That's not true. Do not come in here expecting it to be better than every movie after Endgame, because I came into there thinking that, and I was highly disappointed. You will be disappointed. So if you do go watch this movie, do not expect it to be the best movie you've seen in 30 years, because it's not. They're playing in your face, and you're going to get played, and you're going to be very disappointed. So don't do that. But yeah, that's all for the non-spoilers. Let's slide into the spoilers because I got to drag. Yeah, I said it. Let's get into the cons. I want to talk about the cons first because I have more of them. Now, this is supposed to be classic team-up movie. Marvel has done it 90 times. Other superheroes have done it 90 times. Bitch, random movies have done it. We always get a good team up. There's so many team up movies, right? Bitch, I'm not gagging. The Thunderbolts team to me is so copy paste of each other. Like, each of the team members were just not unique enough from each other. I felt like they were all too similar with each other so that it doesn't feel dynamic. I feel like the point of a team up is it feels dynamic. This person is coming from here and this person is coming from here and they're doing this over here. And then they all just meet and they're all different and weird and they clash and da-da-da-da. I didn't get that energy at all. The only reason these people clashed is because they were tasked to clash with it. Like, their whole task at the beginning of the movie was for them to fight each other. After that, there was barely any personality clashes because, bitch, they have the same personality. Damn near. Red Guardian and John Walker are damn near the same type of comedic relief. There's like barely any difference. I prefer Red Guardian, but barely. Like, I kind of don't care for either of them. Ghost, nothing. I got nothing from Ghost personally. Absolutely nothing. Yelena is actually interesting, and Bob is actually interesting in their own little ways. But within the team dynamic, it's like there's nothing there for me. I feel like there is no dynamic. And I'm like thinking of Guardians because, of course, they're kind of like taking inspo from Guardians in a way. Guardians is way more dynamic. We have Groot and Rocket who are very, very close. Rocket and Star-Lord are competing to be this leader type of role. And I did notice that with Bucky and Yelena at the end post-credit scene, it seemed like they might be getting that kind of energy. And throughout the movie, it's kind of like which one of them is going to take the reins. But it's not in this dynamic way just yet. In this movie, it was very clearly just Yelena. And Bucky kind of was like this outlier who came in. And Bucky doesn't even add anything for this to me either. He doesn't have a polarizing personality anymore. He's kind of like very settled, very reserved, a lawyer. So I'm like, but in Guardians, there's just so much to it. Gamora is this like solo dolo type of person. It's just I feel like a lot more intricate in a lot of other situations, not just Guardians. And it's kind of more like Suicide Squad, where in a way it's like they're all just evil, who gives a fuck. But even in Suicide Squad, they're all just dynamic in a lot of different ways. They have different powers, just something that can make them clash. In this movie, they're all hand-to-hand combat fighters. They're all like anti-hero type of characters. And then none of them necessarily hate each other for any reason. The only personal connection we have before this movie is really just Yelena and her dad. But even that's not that, like, that's easily resolvable, which is why I got easily resolved by the end of the movie. It's just, I'm not gagging with the dynamics of the team. Personally, if you thought the dynamics of the team and the way that they interacted with each other was super interesting and fun and dramatic, love that for you. I didn't feel that at all. And I just felt like it was a lackluster version of so many other situations we've had with people teaming up. Guardians, Eternals, Avengers. I'm just like, this is the weakest version of a team up I've seen so far. Like, this is the weakest version of that. They're the least dynamic. They're the least interesting. They're the least dramatic within each other. I just am so uninterested. And some people are fine with just any team up. And I feel like that's helping them be like happy about this. But in reality, for me, this is nothing. Nothing nothing is interesting about their dynamic with each other at all. At all. Nothing. If you could think of something that you find interesting about the dynamic of this Thunderbolts team, please let me know. Put it in the chat, because nothing is gagging me at all personally. So there's that. And this really leads into how I feel like they're just really taking from so many other ideas and concepts, because of course this whole Bob and Yelena relationship is the most interesting thing about this movie. But even that is screaming Hulk and Black Widow. And it's like so one-to-one. There's like it's okay to have a repetitive theme where it's like there's this character relationship where one has to calm the other down. There's nothing wrong with that. I feel like this is just so copy paste of Black Widow and Hulk, because Yelena is a Black Widow. Yelena is a Black Widow. Yelena is a Black Widow. So all it is again is another Black Widow and another Hulk, basically, because Sentry cannot control his powers. It's literally a OP, strong hero who can't control his powers and kind of turns into this other thing, and then a Black Widow calming them down. We've gotten this before in the MCU, literally within it. So to me, I'm like, a very interesting story they ended up telling. But in this moment, I'm like, girl, we've seen that before. I already talked about Guardians. It's like it's supposed to be Guardians because all of the Guardians were like bounty hunters, and they were all trying to do this. Like, they had a task, very, very same kind of thing coded, but just way less grand. Way less grand. The initial fight was lame and boring. It was in that one room, was not dynamic. There wasn't a lot of movement and shit. And it's probably because they don't have any powers, but still, they could have made it a little more dynamic. I feel like that was like lame and boring, and it just doesn't feel original at all. It feels like so copy paste. Even like the whole concept at the end of the movie, I just feel like it's very bitch Inside Out coded. We got Inside Out last year where we have to anxiety stop. Like nothing, no element of this movie was new at all. If there's something you thought was new, put it in the comments. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I need to rewatch. But for me, I'm like, nothing was new. 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 So yeah, overall, didn't care for any of the characters. And the story didn't get interesting until the end. Like that part was the most interesting part, the anxiety stop part. But even that wasn't, it took so long to really kind of get to that place, because the whole first half of the movie was supposed to be this quotations dynamic back and forth between the team. But to me, it wasn't dynamic at all. It was just comedic at times. But even those comedic times weren't meh. Like, not my favorite comedic times. I wasn't gagged. I wasn't laughing. No shade. But yeah, there you go. I can slide into my pros now. Now, I did love the story it was telling. That's what helped keep me at like a 3 stars for this, is that the story and the fact that this story has such a deep meaning with the depression that Bob has, And we saw his journey throughout the movie, how at the beginning he was willing to sacrifice himself because he didn't care to live. Yelena is also dealing with depression, and her connection to Bob is through that. All of that, fucking amazing, fucking phenomenal. I love Yelena as a main character. I love Bob / Sentry as a character. They are very interesting, and they carried this movie. Without Yelena or Bob, bitch, there is no movie. And it's like, that's fine, but it's just they're the only two doing anything for me at all. And I love that they have character arcs, but they're the only ones who have character arcs. But this is pros. But I love their character arc, and I love the meaning it has, and I love the discussion about depression, especially within the MCU. I think the one thing that I do like within the MCU about this movie is that it is taking a new take on the way they've been telling stories recently. There have been stories with meaning, especially in the new era, for sure, but it seems like it's not hitting for people. But also the way that they told this story was very slow paced. They didn't crowd it with a lot of other elements going on. It was a very simple story about depression, and then also about this team getting together. And I feel like it is a new way of storytelling for the MCU, because they're kind of combining the slow pace of phase 1 and phase 2 with the meaningfulness behind some of the stories as phase 4 and phase 5, if you ask me. I felt like that's what I got from it, because I do feel like these new phases have been having movies with meaning. You know, Eternals was all about Icarus and his story, and Sprite and her story, about how they're feeling, about how they needed to grow from this character they were at the beginning to a character they were at the end. Not to spoil the movie, but if you're a Marvel fan and you like the fact that this had elements of meaning and you feel like you haven't got that for a while, I don't necessarily understand it, because we clearly got it from Eternals, and we clearly got it from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, after they're going through the grieving process, of course. And the whole story with the Kukulkan. How you say that? You know, the Kukulkan, you know, them people. That whole story, it's like, that's such a deep meaning. That has so much more into it. So maybe it's that you can't relate to some of those kind of topics, and this is more relatable because this is a more general, everyone can kind of relate to this kind of story in a way. So maybe that's what it is. But I felt like in the new era, we've constantly been getting more deeper, meaningful movies, and people haven't really been jiving with it. And that kind of leads me into my next segment, because no shade, that's all my pros. And my next segment is just talking about some of the thoughts I had while watching this movie, some of my favorite moments, all of that. Now, I already said it, but I loved Yelena's moments with Bob, but I also loved her moments with her dad. Like, after they fought Sentry the first time and they lost, and they're like walking out of the building, and her dad have that big conversation, and Yelena talks about how he left her after her sister died, you know, and they already have this rocky history because the man's not even her real dad for real. But also on top of that, he kind of dipped out and just went on his own after she's dealing with this grief of her sister, and he's dealing with the grief of his daughter. So it's like they're both grieving alone, and Yelena needed him in that moment, and he probably needed her, and this is such a big moment. But throughout the entire movie, they have this like relationship drama, and I find it very, very interesting, very compelling. I really did enjoy that part. And I also enjoyed the part when Bob is fighting the void, when they're inside of him. Whoa. Whoa. But when you know, they're in his mind and they're fighting and Bob is literally physically fighting the void, and he's like punching him and he's trying to beat him up, and it's like, oh my God, he's literally battling depression like right in front of his face. Is very, very scary, but it's also like so real, so relatable, so raw, like very emotional. Really, really enjoyed that. Another thought I had is of course that this is like old school Marvel, but I did want to say, like, and I mentioned this, but did I need it to be old school Marvel? I don't know. I don't think I did. Like, I was not one of the people yearning for old school Marvel. I'm not overwhelmed by the movies they're releasing in this new era. I'm not disgruntled by them. And once again, I feel like the new era movies do have similarities to these movies. Not even I feel. The new era movies do have similarities to this movie. A lot of new era movies are like this movie, where they have this meaning. Shang-Chi is not that fast-paced of a movie at all. It does not tackle the multiverse at all. And people didn't really love that. And I feel like it's like, to me, it feels like what people really don't like about this new era of the MCU is that it switched focus on what kind of characters we were going to be taken on a journey with. And up until this movie, the characters we've been on a journey with have been primarily women and POC, period. It has been Shang-Chi, an Asian man. It has been Black Panther, who is now a Black woman. It has been the Marvels, who is 3 women. One of them is Black. One of them is Indian, Punjabi. Then it has been the Eternals, where it's like multiple women, multiple different races of people. It's like none of these movies have gagged any of the MCU classic fans. And this movie is gagging them. And I don't understand it because, to be frank, this is probably the least best movie of the ones I just named. Like, of course, there's arguments for some here and there, but in my opinion, Eternals was a way more interesting team-up movie, was a way more interesting story. Both of them have similarities, but in my opinion, Eternals did it better. It's my opinion, I get that, and you can have a different opinion, but I don't even feel like the movies I just named are similar to each other. And it's kind of like what people have been saying is, oh, all these movies have just been trash. They're all the same and da-da-da-da. And I disagree. I don't think of all the movies that have came out in these 2 new phases, Thunderbolts is the most repetitive copied one, because they keep claiming that they're all the same and all similar and there's nothing new and they're all this. But to me, Thunderbolts is the one that is most similar to past MCU movies. Guardians, like I said, the entire phase 1, like I said, I feel like this is the most similar to old movies. This is the least unique. Like, Shang-Chi is nothing like damn near any other Marvel movie. Like, it's hard to be, because it's about an Asian man. Like, there's nothing to really compare, an Asian family at that, Asian culture. It's hard to compare that movie to anything else. Eternals is about so many different damn near gods coming together as this group of people fighting celestial. There's nothing like that. Like, there's just nothing like that. Guardians Volume 3, the entire Guardians series, but Guardians Volume 3 didn't get this type of praise. And I feel like Guardians Volume 3 is so unique and so different. It's like, I don't understand how you watch all these movies in the new phase, Wolverine and Deadpool. And some people did like Wolverine and Deadpool. Some people did like Guardians 3, but people are acting like this is so much different than all of those other movies, and I don't get it, because none of them are the same. Wolverine Deadpool was so comical, so Deadpool-y, had no comparisons to Eternals. And it's like, people said all of these new areas have been just so stupid and convoluted, and I don't like any of them, and yada 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 yada. And then we get to this, and this is what you're gagging about. And it's no shade, and it sucks, because it makes me feel, it kind of takes me out of the experience of what Thunderbolts just is. But also, after watching it, it just was mid for me. It just was mid, and I don't understand the comparison, and I don't understand how this is so much better than anything else we've gotten. So if you feel that way, comment below and explain to me what's gagging for you. Maybe it is slower, but like I said, I thought Shang-Chi was a little slower. I did think Eternals took its time. I don't know what it is, so you got to let me know, because maybe I don't get it. But this also slides into the fact that I feel like people are viewing this movie in comparison to the MCU. And I think something that MCU people have been stuck in, and it makes sense to watch an MCU movie and consider the world of the MCU, because that's literally the experience of the MCU. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense, but what I do feel like is a movie should be good as a standalone. And this is a good movie. I think it's good as a standalone. But I think what makes people feel like this is 5 stars and amazing and a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and this is smashing is because they're viewing it within the world of the MCU. And within the world of the MCU, Thunderbolts has finally started to ingratiate a storyline that can be followed. This multiversal shit cannot be followed because it's not complete. It leaves so many open doors, so many open worlds, so much shit that could happen. So up until this movie, there has been nothing that has pushed the world of, and Captain America, which y'all also didn't like, which I don't understand. How didn't you like Captain America, A Brave New World, but you like this? They are the same energy. They shifted energy with Captain America: Brave New World and slowed down the pacing and started discussing the political climate within the MCU. And they did it on Black America. Oh my God. Captain America: Brave New World and this movie. So I feel like if you liked this, you should have at least liked that, because that also went back to old school MCU. And it's like, y'all didn't even like that, which makes me go back to my other point of, is it because he's Black? Because that's basically what I'm saying. Is this movie enjoyable for the OG MCU fans because they're mainly white? Because you can't say that they're going back to old school MCU finally, because they did that with the last movie that y'all hated. And you can't say they're finally focusing on the political climate of what's happening within the MCU world, because they did that with the last movie and y'all didn't like it. So I don't know what it is about this movie that is so much more likable than these other movies. I don't get it. But as I was saying, I get that this movie is finally talking about the political climate of what's happening. Like we get the Avengers Tower again. We get to see what the goal is for the fact that there is no Avengers. They talk about how Captain America is making a new team, which we literally got on the last movie. So if the whole point, if you were feeling like we don't know what's happening with the Avengers, you could have got that with Captain America movie, but you didn't feel that way. I just don't get it. I don't necessarily get it personally, but we move. But I understand that all those things are happening, and that's what's making it interesting within the MCU. But I feel like you also have to just look at the movie as a general movie. And the whole first half of the movie to me was so repetitive, already done before, nothing unique, not gaggy at all. The only interesting part was the depression part, and that was it. And that's just how I feel. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, period. Now, let me recommend some shit. If you want me to give you this movie again, watch Guardians of the Galaxy. It's the exact same thing. A bunch of bounty hunters sent on task to kill each other damn near, or to have the same goal, and then they end up on a team. Way more dynamic, way more interesting. Not all the same archetypes. They all have more interesting stories, if you ask me. Their conversations with each other are way more enjoyable, way more comical, actually funny, more interesting storylines. The whole, it's just, as a whole, 10 times better, if you ask me. And it's the same thing. If you want it in a different font, watch Eternals. Same thing. More interesting characters, more interesting dynamics with each other, more interesting stories, more interesting powers, if you ask me. Still has meaning, if you ask me. Still paced amazingly paced, if you ask me. Watch Eternals. If you want something else totally, bitch, I don't know. Watch anything. Watch any team-up movie. Watch Suicide Squad, bitch. Watch Justice League, bitch. Any team-up movie will do. Anything. I guess I'd say Suicide Squad. Same shit. Goddamn. I guess it's supposed to be totally different. Bitch, watch Wizard of Oz. They team up. Watch Wizard of Oz. Literally. Ragtag group teaming up. So unique. What the fuck? Because why are y'all gagging? I'm so angry. I don't know why. Well, I don't know why that pisses me off that everyone is gagging over this. But I watched that movie and I was like, girl, what the fuck? Am I going crazy? So if I'm going crazy, put it in the comments. But I don't think I am. But anyways, that's it, y'all. Those are my thoughts on the movie. It was cute. That's it. I'm going to leave it alone. Make sure y'all tune in next week. Next Monday, I'll be talking about whatever movie's coming out next week. I don't know what it is. No shade. My April wrap-up is coming up very soon. Shit, should have been yesterday, but I think it's going to be tomorrow. So get into my April wrap-up or whatever, and just subscribe, do all of that. And thank you for tuning in. I'm out. Bye.